Well, African farmer Mogaji joins us on the show. He is a founder, Agric Business NG. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I mean, you are you're a member of one of the most important sectors now in the country. So literally speaking, you're a VIP at this point.
I hope so.
You know, farmers should be seen as VIPs right now because we've seen what, rising cost of food can do to a nation, really. But listening to the Minister of Agriculture, 5,000 tractors in the country. I mean, I can't put a figure to how much VIP vehicles we have for government officials, members of the National Assembly. It's obviously more than 5,000, but for the vital, utility like tractor, we have just 5,000 as opposed to the 72,000, which it says we need to have. First, are you shocked?
Well, that data, I may not so much agree with it. I believe we have more than 5,000 tractors. There's a PwC document out there online. We actually have, I believe we have close to about 200,000. Yes, compared to what we need to, we need close to like 1 million.
Oh, so that means the minister's data in its entirety is wrong. Rather, it's what we need, 72,000, which is what he says, as against 5,000 that he says we actually have. That means he's wrong. So
I would rather say it's either PwC is wrong, which is a document that has been out for almost 5 or 6 years. It's online. You can check it out. Mechanization, or the aides of the minister are not up to date with current happenings.
No, it's where we're staying on this question.
Yeah.
This is basic data.
Yeah.
This is a no-brainer if we don't have the. So was it referring to? Without making excuses for it, was it referring to maybe the federal government purchasing, I don't know, because federal government doesn't have farm necessarily.
Maybe
is it talking about the entire country, or it's talking about
what's in the charge of the ministry?
Okay.
That would be fair to say that, okay, maybe what the ministry is involved with, or with the states, so we need to put that in context. But to the whole country, we have, I think, above 200,000.
But that regardless, when you consider how much was spent on the anchor borrower scheme in the last administration, amounting to about 10 trillion naira, as has now emerged from questions answered by the CBN during the latest round of screening, isn't it shocking to you that what we have either is 72,000 or 200,000 is grossly inadequate?
It's extremely inadequate. We don't have, one of the reasons why we are where we are today with a huge food shortage is because we don't have mechanization, especially tractors. And not just tractors. We can have 1 million tractors, but we don't use the appropriate tractors. So we focus too much on the big tractors. And what we need are small tractors, even the what you call the wheel tractors, the ones that you can handhold or sit on. What we're used to is bringing in what works in Europe, what works in US, or what the US or Europe has abandoned. That's what we embrace. But what we work here is what has been working in India, Malaysia, and Indonesia. They are the 2-wheel tractors, the small tractors, the ones that a farmer or 5 farmers can work together to use that. Don't forget, 3 acres, that tractor will do 3 acres a day. 5 farmers can come together to begin to use it, as against the other ones that you pay. This is how it works. You pay. Let's say you pay now. In the next 2 weeks, you're waiting for the tractor. So while the tractor is coming to you, the tractor begins to plow other people's projects to you. When that's like 2 weeks. By the time they get to you, they now plow back. That's another 2 weeks there. So if you need to ridge or arrow now, they now do another 2 weeks. So by the time your land is prepared, you've missed the timing.
So, sir, my question is, where did the 10 trillion naira go?
Well, it said it went into the sector, but it didn't go into the right hands, 1. And 2, there was a lot of bogus planning to it. And the project was a good design. I always say always, I like the anchor borrowers, the design, but the implementation, it did not work, because you would ask someone who has the collateral, the resources, to go and get 10,000, 20,000 farmers. People he does not know, the farmers doesn't know. He does not know how they operate. He doesn't know anything about them. They will just gather the BVN and put resources in their care. There's no extension agent attached to them, even though on paper there is. So at the end of the day, you just find them take the money, divert the money. I have witnessed in this country, where they give the farmers the input on a, opposite, and the same supplier will park the truck, the trailer opposite, and be buying back at half the price. And government staffs are saying, I even confronted one and I said, sir, this is happening. He said, my business is to ensure that it's distributed. My business is not to enforce that it's used.
I've been looking at some of the data, because it's quite shocking when you hear the minister saying 5,000. So I see the tractor owners at some point said that there were 7,000 tractors in Nigeria. Another World Bank agribusiness indicator for Nigeria saying they estimated 45,000 tractors in the nation. Minister says 5,000. So we know the challenge is data. Clearly, there is no unified data, because everybody's quoting different things, perhaps from where they see things. As you said, what the minister said may have been just what is in the, in the purview of the government. But you've raised some of these issues, and for a lot of Nigerians who are not farmers, they don't quite understand all of that process. All they know is you plant food, it grows, you harvest, bring to the market, and we need to purchase, at least for something bearable. But that's not the case right now. So I'd like you to speak to us about what you've seen the government doing in the past few weeks and some of the pronouncements. How much of it do you think is really going to be effective in the short run? Because a lot of people need this to happen as of yesterday. 42,000 metric tons, they said it will be released this week. Farmers like you and others will be incentivized, according to the Minister of Agriculture. Is that really going to change anything?
It's not. It's not going to change anything. It's really bad. And let me say this, we've been warning and shouting about where we will be today. A few months ago, when elections were won, we raised an alarm, and let me say this, and we all need to put this in perspective. Sometime 3 months to the election, we put together the manifesto of the 4 leading candidates in agriculture. We dissected it on Twitter, saying who will feed Nigeria. The shocking, discovery was those documents were watery.
All of them.
All of them. But the ruling party had a better conversation, in it. But all of them will still have gotten us here based on that document. And so it's not something that just happened. It happened 3 months. It's on Twitter. You can be verified. Who will feed Nigeria out of the 4? And based on those manifestos, none of them. But APC had some things, together above all. So where we are, irrespective of who came in, we were supposed to be here.
So let's talk about this. I always call it diagnosis or misdiagnosis, because we need to solve this problem. Kayode had mentioned the immediate solution, because this appears like even if they release 100,000 tons, it's not going to move a needle. We're lost as a country, as a people. So let's go back a bit before we start talking. Where did they miss it in terms of diagnosing what exactly is needed in this sector, so that we can begin to look at immediate term? I don't even want to use the short term, because short term looks like it's 20 years from now, right now, the way people are feeling. Immediate term, mid-term, and long-term.
Immediate, where they got it wrong was that diagnosis when the state of emergency on food was pronounced, where that document read that availability was not the challenge, it was affordability.
Oh boy.
That was where the challenge started from. Because when you say it's affordability, meaning it's available, but it's not affordable because of earning power and maybe a high cost. And what triggered that was some people working with the presidency said because of the price of fuel that went up, especially petrol, that went up, and the cost of transportation increased, they quickly just clamped on that and said it was availability, forgetting that a chunk of the food produced comes from the north and it is diesel. So at the time they were quick to say is affordability, the price of diesel had not reflected on the real cost, which, you know, May 29, that was announced, you know, that subsidy was removed. It would take 3 months for us to see the outcome of the new increase. So there's been a lot of data challenge. Okay, so after that, you know, happened and we came out to say, no, it's availability, not affordability. The good thing about this current administration is, you know, they quickly repackaged and said availability and affordability when the president was having a new broadcast. However, what has happened in terms of practicality, and I have said this and I'm saying it again, the handlers of Mr. President and the presidency and the vice president seem not to be in tune with the real realities, because these things has been there. You see, on the immediate, we may need to open our borders on the immediate. Agriculture is a process. If we plant today, the earliest of the basic crops, corn, tomatoes, it would take 60 days for the hybrids. Okay, and over 90% of the farmers don't use hybrids, so it will take 75 days. I said it's 60 days. You can't get anything outside 60 days. What will happen to us in 60 days? Okay, so on the immediate, we may need to be flexible with the borders and monitor and get some things in. On the intermediate, okay, is for us to begin to produce like yesterday. I have warned and I've reached out to a couple of people highly positioned around the president, you know, had some physical conversations. They don't understand this, and that's the truth. I think we need a few women to come in, because men don't understand this. They've been far from food prices go. They don't know how these things work. They don't know the price of food. They eat the food because they've been able to afford over the years. So they did not understand. I warned again. You see, we are complaining now. Wait till May. May. I am saying this. Bismarck Riwani, I think 2 weeks ago on your platform, predicted that a basket of tomato, a 50 kg, what you call the Hausa basket, will be going to 62,000 next month. Wait till May. It will be 80,000 to 120,000 on the average. This could have been averted. You know, when I began to have these meetings to say, this is going to happen, they didn't listen. By 20th of February, you know, I said, if you don't do this by 20th of February, we would have issues. So what is waiting for us May, June, will be managed. It cannot be averted again.
Is it because the farmers are not planting? Because I need you to break that down further. Why would it be expensive? So people don't see that speculation.
Okay, so the farmers that can produce will use irrigation. Okay, in the north, because of the irrigation design, it's like fish pond. So the water flows in and there are canals that flow it out. So around March, when it begins to rain in April, tomatoes and basic vegetables, and what I'm talking about is strictly fresh produce, you know, those products cannot withstand heavy water. And the early rains in the north is what you call like acid rains. The leaves will just wilt off and go bad. That's why in April, the farmers in the north start planting rice on the irrigated plots. So in the south, mostly southwest now, that is where you have the rains starting, but most of the southwest states have not positioned to leverage irrigation or leverage the river basins to be able to produce. So there's going to be a drop in production in the north. You now have tomatoes coming from North Central. And don't forget, North Central now has a lot of insecurity challenges. So Southwest and South generally have early rains, but they've not leveraged on irrigation.
Clarify this for us. They've not leveraged on irrigation, not because we don't have the ideal weather condition to grow tomatoes.
We have the ideal. See, before, it was old syllabus that you could not grow tomatoes.
In the South?
Yes, there are varieties of tomatoes that grow very well in the South during the rainy season. And, take for instance, when it comes to like August, September now, tomatoes will be coming in from Burkina Faso, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, into Nigeria and Ghana. When it comes to Nigeria, it's the most expensive, but it's what sells out the first. So they will first buy all those tomatoes because of varieties. They plant hybrids. So if it comes all the way by road from Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, and it sells out fast, and it can do well here, why can't we plant it? Which is where the interventions of government needs to focus on hybrids, because they can weather shelf life, long travel. So we are not taking advantage of our low-hanging fruits. If you don't know it, you don't know it.
So let's talk about the government that declared a state of emergency on the sector. What was that really all about? Given all of this explanation you're giving, it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm worried. Did they really understand what they said, or is the same challenge of misdiagnosis? So if you were to say, let's still keep this food security declaration of food state of emergency on maybe food or the agricultural sector or food and all of that, what exactly should they be doing?
The honest truth, because we've gotten to a point where we can't manage the truth again. If not, May, June will be a huge crisis. Is the presidency needs to check the aids advising on agriculture. All the documents and pronouncements since inception has been faulty. It's not in tune with reality, and it's the aides and the advisors that bring this document to them. The president and vice president, they're not Agric experts. So there are some people feeding this document to them. So if they feed the right information, we'll be able to plan. So bottom line is, it's wrong information. And I will say this, we have a lot, and I keep saying it, we have a lot of people who are exposed, but they are not experienced. Experience is, you are done it. Which of the aides can say, I have spent 60 straight days or 90 straight days on a farm?
Speaking of which, sir, you talked about how the Southwest is not leveraging on the potential of growing tomatoes in the South. And you've also mentioned that the anchor borrower scheme wasn't such a bad idea, but it was the management. So going forward, even at the subnational level, how can they begin to work with the right farmers such that we can grow crops and not continue to wait for the North to push down crops from tomatoes, rice? How can we begin to leverage? Imota, for instance, is a huge rice capacity producing mill. So how can we leverage on the potential that is available?
First thing first is that we must tell ourselves the truth, okay? We celebrate mediocrity too much in the country when it comes to food security. You mentioned Imota. The 1 million bags of rice that was celebrated and made a lot of rounds was not sufficient for Imota rice mill to run a year operations. And yet the whole country was celebrating 1 million bags, which is just 100,000 metric tons. So if we had focused on how can we get Imota and other mills to run a 2-year processing without any break, then we'll be food secure. How do we ensure that the paddy is readily available? And most of the paddy we process also is not from Nigeria, it's from Niger. So when there was this crisis, Niger, Ku, and other West African regions, food security, many people didn't know that our paddies come from there. So when everybody was analyzing, we knew that we are going to face this. We're not having riots today because there's been a strain on the relationship. Now, we focus too much on federal. It's the states that should take responsibility. Okay, and I think the federal government needs to, use the carrot and stick with the state governments now to say, you take facilities from us, we bail you out. You must be able to produce, give us 3 things you will produce. If not, the loans we have with you, we'll recall it. The monies you are getting from us, you must deliver on this with timelines. The states are not doing what they need to do. And before we say, oh, the northern states are doing a lot, the northern states are not doing a lot. The farmers are engaged in activity, not productivity. They are still getting the same yields they were getting 15, 20 years ago. Instead of giving them inputs and seeds that would make them get like 4 times more yield, 5 times more yield. So the farmers in the north are stagnant. And also, the northern climate needs to be processing foods now, not bringing water to the south. When they bring tomato, it is water. Because when you process the thing, it's about 30% of concentrate and 70% of water. They bring sweet potato is water. So they transport water instead of transport finished products.
You're saying they transport water with the produce itself? Yes,
with the produce itself. So if they begin to add value, because they can do commercial,
so they can move more.
They can move more. Okay, and you see, food security goes beyond production or processing. NAFDAC, the government needs to tell NAFDAC that NAFDAC needs to revisit their policies. What do I mean? Now, NAFDAC has a policy around tomato processing. The same seeds that we've been using that has been used in Europe for about 40, 50 years is the same variety that is being used in the north now, but there are policies around because we copy and paste. So for UK now, or Europe will now say, oh, our tomato does not have brisk level, that's sugar level. Okay, but that same tomato they processed and were selling globally for about 30, 40 years. Now NAFDAC will now use that outdated policy to say our paste does not meet global standard. Meanwhile, we're in a dire situation now. We need to begin to consume what we produce.
I need to quickly put this in. You made very, very vital points, and I bet that they're listening right now, because that's the point of this conversation. So the Customs Controller General said that 120 trucks had been stopped from smuggling food. I've not even finished my question.
The laughter says a lot already.
120 trucks stopped. EFCC yesterday also said that, stopped some trucks that were smuggling food outside. I mean, you say that we should open up, at least for now, so we can salvage the situation. But then we see the authorities saying people are even smuggling foods out, and he says that the rising cost is partly due to that, not entirely due to that. You may want to speak to that, because I know that your laugh is very pregnant.
Fela sang a song, "Teacher, don't teach me nonsense." This trade, moving food every Wednesday and Thursday in all the northern states, they bring things in. Go to Adija Jamari. Some of us are well traveled and we've invested our lives in this country, preparing for this time like this. Most of the fish we eat around the country comes from Mali, Burkina Faso. Go every Sunday in Adija Jamari in Jigawa State. You will see trailers of fish. That's where they buy and distribute. You eat a lot of Mali fish. Okay? And when they are going back, they take things with them. When they bring the cattle, the goat, the rams we eat is not from Nigeria. They take something back. Now, over the years, I've seen Chief Audu Ogbe when he was Minister of Agriculture. We're not planning for the future. That's a challenge. And why am I saying we're not planning for the future? If West Africa needs grains from us, if they need our corn, if they need beans, why don't we plan production for them? Until we plan production for West Africa, Nigeria will not be food secure, because they will keep taking it. It's a business that has spanned over 4 decades. So why are we saying, so the food they need us. So if we are crying forex, why don't we just legalize it and ensure that our farmers use good varieties that will give high productivity, so that these people will be able to feed also? We need each other. And let me break it down. The US, I've said it many times on this platform, the US is one of the largest, is the 5th largest producer of tomatoes. But they specialize in tomatoes they use to do ketchups and paste. But they are one of the biggest importers of tomatoes also. They import fresh tomato. We need to focus on the country. China is one of the largest producers of maize, yet they are one of the biggest importers of maize from America also. They are one of the largest producers of pork, yet they are one of the largest importers of pork. Our people handling food security in Nigeria needs to understand how these things work. So Mexico takes soya bean and corn from America and give America tomatoes. What is Nigeria taking from the West African states?
Okay, there are a couple of questions. In fact, there are loads of it, because this is, we're talking food security here. Maybe one of the questions, let me ask the early one. The gari we eat, what happens to it? Why is it expensive?
And they relate it to the dollar.
Relative to the dollar as well.
What have they got to do with each other?
So,
because the layman always says that.
Yeah.
Yes, so everybody, it's the information we give to them that they work with. Don't forget, majority are not educated. So when you just say it's dollar, and so their logistics affect dollar. Fuel, diesel. Many of them run diesel. Don't forget, there's no stable power in the rural community. So because there's no stable power, they will say dollar. Okay? But all the inputs we use, apart from the stem, is dollarized. All the agrochemicals we use is imported based on dollar. When I say all, I mean all. Let any company tell me today, challenge me to say, oh, we are producing 100% of the insecticides, herbicides in the country. There's just one that just sprang up, and it belongs to an Indian, and we thank God for them bailing us out. But 99% of them imports. They now reconstitute and repackage in the country, so it's dollar. So when they grow the cassava, it's dollar. Seed, it's only the seed that is local. When they are to farm, they labor a chunk, especially in Southwest and North Central, a chunk of the labor comes from Benin, and they convert their money to dollar. Oh. Yes. A chunk of the labor that takes care of cassava, mostly Southwest, Kogi and Co, they come from Togo and Benin Republic, and they will convert the money to CFA when they are going. We don't have an understanding of how these things affect the ecosystem. And guess what? Even the gari you are talking about, they bring it from Ghana to Nigeria now.
When you talk about the labor, you mean the manual peeling of the cassava?
The people that weed, that make the molds. We can mechanize this process, but we are not paying attention to mechanization. So if you are bringing labor from Benin that will convert your naira to CFA, and many of them are not even coming into the country again. That's why cost of cassava and co is going high. Because before, they will come and, just like with Japa, go to work, make money, send back home. They come in February, return December for their annual festival. But when they are going now and they convert naira to CFA, it has no value. So many of them are not coming in again. So mechanization. That's what makes our gari expensive.
And the authorities don't know this.
I'm not sure.
What can they do, though? It's a question.
Good.
You need the labor in any case. Is this a call for people to now go into farming? I've heard people saying they're now getting tires, and they're planting something in their homes. They're getting buckets, planting yam, and I'm sure you've seen some of those videos. So really, you need labor and you need these things. So what can governments do?
Just a useful digression. All the guys planting in plastics and co, it's good. It's mainly for their mental health. So with the pressure in the country now, when you begin to water tomato, you are, expectation is there. It helps you with your mental health, and people don't know that. Yeah, because your expectation is high. You're looking at it. There's progress, there's hope, and when you have it, it's for mental health. It can't sustain you, but it's good. Okay, but the thing is, government is focusing too much, putting unnecessary pressure on themselves. The private sector is eager to come on the platform. We need to turn it to 20% government, policies, security, and bring in the FMCGs.
So before we let you go, so why, permit me to use the word, maybe grandstanding. The president has said, look, we're not going to export. We're not going to import anything. In fact, we should be net exporter. Where is that confidence coming from? Because we need to solve this problem, like I already said, like we've all said yesterday. You mentioned flexibility around the border. What else do we need to do? Maybe 2 more things. They are listening because we're looking for solution here.
So let me say this. Again, it comes to whoever is feeding the president with data. This is the same error the last administration made. They were working with wrong data. When they increased, they blocked access to forex for maize. The price of maize went from 45,000 to 145, grew to 210,000 per ton, and eventually January 610,000.
Oh,
now, that's why you don't have eggs. So data, it's the people, the president doesn't know this. It's based on the data they give to them that they use to make the pronouncement. I said it, that we will import. When we got grains from Ukraine, is that not importation? It's the how. I'm trained on U.S. foreign policy and food security. Okay, so we understand that these foods must come in as aid now. Okay, but government is back end, some things are happening. We need to bring these things in. Either we lobby to bring it in as aids and government is not directly involved, but it's still importation across the border into Nigeria.
In any case, well, allow us to do our small farming for our mental health. Maybe that is our learning ground. They will now expand, but I think it's also important to state that people who want to invest can invest in farming.
Yes.
Even though you won't get the yields immediately, it might not change what is happening now, but 6 months, 1 year, it might begin to change things.
3 months.
3 months, right?
3 months,
not even as
4
much.
months.
Right.
It has its issues, okay, but 3 months, 4 months. Government just needs to be talking about, we have 4 million metric tons gap. Take, for instance, rice. For us to be rice sufficient, we need 1 million hectares. From the 1 million hectares, 5 billion will be going to seeds. We need to talk to people like that, but there's hope.
Mr. Margaret,
in 3 to 6 months, we can solve this thing and then reduce it.
That's the beauty about this conversation.
If we have the right people in the right offices, 3 to 6 months, this thing will be a thing of the past.
And I think we'll leave it on that cheery note. We can go on and on because it's food. And it's very important, but
it's just something to smile and
absolutely.
And you don't just want to be angry, just be smiling.
So please keep your mental health. African farmer, mortgagee, food security expert. Thank you so much for your time. By the way, someone sent this in a message, gifted, saying the solution to food security is not rocket science. We have a grain reserve according to the federal government. Why not inject some quantity into the market at a subsidized rate and see how prices will crash? There's more to it than granted interviews. Gifted says, but do you know how much we consume? Do you know how much we have in reserve? But hey, thank you so much, Gifted, for that. We'll go to break now. Thank you very much, by the way, Mr. Mortgage, one more time. We'll go to break now. When we return, we'll turn our attention to the Labour Party. You may have seen what's trending online. But then, aside that, is the major role of opposition in Nigeria. They need to provide alternative ideas. We'll turn our attention to that in a moment. Stay with us.